Welcome to The Real Tea. I'm your host, Tammy Murphy, broker-owner of RH2L, bringing Miami Valley real homes to love.
And I'm Ellie Sollenberger to give my perspective as a home buyer.
We're going to give you the key to Miami Valley real estate.
So today we're here with Michael Morris from MBM Media. He is my go-to for all pictures and video when I'm listing a house. So welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So you are really an important part of the process, and I think that the public would want to know, tips, tricks, any of the things that they can do to prepare for. Why does it matter? Like getting a professional photographer versus a listing agent just using their phone. Why does it really matter in this market?
So in this market, it's not as strict as what it was back, you'd say early 2000s where the market was stale. Now you can be a little bit more relaxed on basically like gutting it, like depersonalizing and everything. As long as it looks and it's almost staged. Staged listings, they take off I think it's like a 15% more on the market. But as long as they get it ready, get it clean, get it presentable, then when we come in there, we make it even better. So once you get listings that, they're kind of just, they're flipped, but they're not, correct in the atmosphere of what they look like, then you kind of just struggle with presentations. When somebody can just imagine, hey, this is the house that I want, this is the home that I want to be in, and they can actually put themselves in there from the photos, you're going to get a sale. Mm-hmm. Not only are you going to get a sale, but you're going to get multiple people coming in. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what we strive to do is, how many people can we get in the door so they can make that impulse decision to buy that house?
Right. And we always say it's that first impression. And the first impression is being made before somebody walks into the house. They're looking at those pictures online. If it's captivating, if it's intriguing, if they have questions about it, if they see something they like, then that's really what drives them to want to come in for the showing and then potentially make the offer on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I just read somewhere the other day that we're getting more and more out-of-state buyers. Each quarter it's increased. Mm-hmm. So now you've got to really focus on, okay, I'm not just showing the local people this house. We've got to present this house so that maybe somebody from, out west is going to come over here. They might not have the funds to come back and forth to buy it, but they have to relocate in Ohio. So yeah, you really got to do a good job of presenting the home as if, anybody in the world's going to see it.
Right. And I do global work, so I have that mentality anyway. Even pre-COVID, I knew that we were going online, which internet access, anybody from anywhere could be looking at it. So that's important. But it absolutely is one of my pet peeves when a new listing comes on the market and there's no pictures. It's just the basic, and it's like you're missing your opportunity for day one, hit it running, and have everything in place. Like if I know I'm going to list a house, I've already contacted photographer, I've already contacted videographer, I've already gotten all of these things taken care of before the listing is going to go live, so that when we go live, we have everything in place. And I think that would be what most people would expect.
Sure, yeah.
Because
I remember as a buyer, I would be texting you like, this house just went up. It says it's 5 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms. Like, this is what I want. But there's no pictures. What is going on?
Right. And you can't really tell just by the verbiage what it presents, because sometimes there's limited pictures because the other pictures are going to be a negative impact, right? And sometimes you just get the front picture of the house because they didn't do anything else. And you have to guess, well, okay, maybe you make a showing to go see it, or maybe you don't because you think negative. If it's not worth taking pictures of, then it's not worth me coming in there to go in and see it in person. Mm-hmm. It's both sides of that. So you have to err on what's going to get the most traffic for the home. As the listing agent, that's what you would want. You want more people coming in, more people seeing it, more online views. So, send that enticing video and pictures out there so that it makes a point.
What you said is perfect. Sorry for interrupting. Negativity. That is something when we go in and we're looking at a home, anything that might be a negative, we don't want to highlight that. We don't want to show that because we're so judgmental in this today's age and everything. And then we don't have time. Mm-hmm. Like everybody is super busy. So if you give somebody that first initial, thought of the house as a negative, then they might not even show up into the front door.
Right.
So in all of your experience, who buys the home? The people that really get into that front door, make themselves feel like, hey, this is my house.
They see the potential in it. And there are times when the pictures aren't going to be staged. They're not going to be glamorous. They're not going to be pulling you in and, oh, I can see it, because you have rehab specials, you have investors, you have people who are selling because of a loss to a family member. When it's settling an estate, when there's a situation that's going on, then you want to be upfront and give people the true version of what is going on with this house. I realize then it's not going to be the glamour aspect that somebody's coming in here. It's because they see the potential of what they can do with the house, and they have a realistic view that there's work that needs to be done. So both sides of that are there's two different markets really that we're dealing with when you're talking about that type of a market versus the house that's prepped, ready, and to go. But you don't put pictures up, or you use your cell phone in order to take the pictures instead of hiring. I mean, I know you're not cheap, but you're not that expensive.
Right, yeah.
If I'm the listing agent, part of my responsibility is to have a budget set aside for that marketing aspect. And if you're not saying that's included in what you're doing, I mean, I got to call you out and say, well, would the seller be happy knowing that you're not going to do professional photographs on their home?
Right. You got to really take care of your clients. And if you're not doing professional photography, doing some type of social media engagement, you're not really showing your clients the potential of who could buy it.
Off topic, but somewhat similar. I had a gal ask a question today about, well, I have these buyers that keep contacting me. I'm the listing agent, but the buyers want to get in. And it's like, you're the listing agent. If their buyer agent isn't able to get them in, or they aren't working with somebody, it's your responsibility to make sure the house is being shown. Like, you should absolutely be doing it. If you're not doing an open house to allow that traffic to come through, if they're calling you directly, why are you not showing the house? Like, you're not doing your duties for your seller at that point. So I think that there's going to be, with everything that's going on in the market, there is going to be this leveling of the professional standards for what are you doing to represent the property, the seller, right? The clients, because the buyers are also being represented, meaning that they're getting to be able to see this without having to waste the time to come in and see that it's not the right one for them, because you either know it or you don't. Final determination, as we talked about, is always see the house in person, right? If you can, you want to see it in person to make sure it's legitimate, what you thought it was, but at least you have an idea to go in there off of. If you don't have that, I don't think you get the showing.
All right.
So what is your professional opinion about pictures versus video? Do they complement each other? Do you have to have both?
So now this is going to show my true honesty, right?
Of course.
So
This is for.
the photos, in my opinion, are what really are going to sell the home. That's like the funnel. So if you think of it as like a funnel, right? You've got all your social media engagement, you've got your videos and all that. But at the end of the day, what they're going to be really staring at is those photos. So as long as your photos are really good, you can get away without doing a video. Now, me personally, I think the video helps the agent way more than it does help the sale of the home. So for instance, you do a video and you're not in the video, but you're just showing the video. The potential, a selling client that you might have will be like, wow, she did a video on that as well. Not just professional photos, but a video. And then they could start thinking about you, and now you're helping out somebody, and it could just help gain more clients in the long run, in my opinion. Now, you could do a video with you inside of it, then boom, you're already branding yourself, because what's a real estate agent? You are the brand. So as long as you're out in front of there. So I tell a lot of my clients, like, imagine what McDonald's does every single day with their marketing. We know who McDonald's are. We know everything about them, but they still produce 8 videos a day, and they're constantly in your face. It's at top of mind. You're always there. So that's, if you strategically plan a video on a real estate listing, you're not just giving it to your clients, you're giving it to yourself, because you're going to promote yourself through that video.
Right. And I know, obviously, we're required with our board, we are restricted in that we can't do branding. So our photography
on the MLS, right?
On the MLS, it can't have like our brokerage sign in it. It can't have my branding or anything like that. And that's the same with our video. So if you do a video, then it cannot be branded. So if I do it, I'm having to do a secondary, like, hey, would you do an additional shot? Make sure you get my picture of the sign with the house so that I have that for my marketing material, because that's me marketing what I'm doing. And then I'll do an introduction, like, here's the house, welcome to our open house, or whatever video spin that I can use on our social media for engagement from the brokerage perspective. That's branding me, not just branding the property. I took it one step further because I do think pictures are really where it's at, and they have to be quality. But I think sometimes you want to know the feel of that. And the video obviously is the reason why you get a walkthrough, you get how does that flow actually work? You can't necessarily tell that from the pictures. But the next step is to show those people who may not be from our area, what is the community? What is the surrounding area? And so that's the liberty that I take with my videos, is to make sure that I'm giving some more information, something more than just about the house, because it's the draw of what does the community offer. And a buyer coming from Texas or California or Florida or someplace else is going to say, oh, wait, I was looking for where I had park walking distance and all of this. And they may not get it from the pictures or from the description.
Or just by demographic of, this side of town might not be the best, but this house inside of that town is amazing. So they buy it and then they're like, wait, I'm surrounded by what? And, you didn't do your due diligence as an agent to show them, hey, this is the house.
Right. And also why you would see the house in person is because you want to know where you're going.
Yeah,
that was one thing that I did when I was looking at houses, is I watched, like, entering the neighborhood. Were people out walking and saying hi? Or waving, or
just making it
was there trash
the
everywhere? Yeah, or the lawns manicured, things like that.
Well, and because you have pets and children and all of these things that go into that. It's can I have a fence in the front yard if it's a busy road, or am I stuck with a busy road and then I'm scared that my kids are going to go out the door and I don't grab them fast enough? I mean, these are thoughts that people have that are realistic to their lifestyle.
Yeah, absolutely. Down in Cincinnati, I go down maybe 2 or 3 times a week, and there's so many times where I'm driving, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I gotta lock the doors, like, this is pretty scary. And then I turn a corner and it's like $3-4 million homes, and it's like, I would have never known that this house was here if I didn't just trucked on through and got through where I needed to go. So yeah, I mean, just the descriptions, I mean, it's kind of everything, right? It's not just throw up photos and good luck. Like, your descriptions have to be just as good as the photos, in my opinion. So yeah, there's a lot to market with it, and a lot of it too is psychology. So going back to the negatives, if you show negatives, that's the first thing they're going to do. We're flipping a home right now, and that was a conversation we just had. They wanted to redo the front door, but I'm like, just get a new front door. I was like, that's your first impression going into the house, is the front, from the curb. And if you got a mediocre door, now the whole house is mediocre.
Right.
So it's like, don't skip anything. Listen to your real estate agents. Make sure that what they recommend is going to help you out, and just trust them.
Yeah.
A lot of it's trust.
For sure. Just like we need to trust you when you come in and you say, why is it important about the lighting in the house, or what you bring, or the time of the day? Like, I've had where, well, I want to do a morning shot, or I need to do twilight, but I don't want to do right in the middle of the day. Difference is if you've got full frontal windows and you're going to get blasted out. I mean, do you do color editing and things like that?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So for us as well, the big thing is exterior. So your interior, you can get away with a good window from 11 to about 4 p.m. throughout the day, and you're not going to have harsh lights. But we also have really heavy-duty lights to kind of eliminate that. So depending on your photographer, they could come in and just click a couple shots, looks good enough, but then you got heavy shadows. The big thing as well is if you have like a northern-facing house, especially up here in the northern hemisphere, the sun's always going to be in the south. So that front is going to be shadowed no matter what time of day. So what we can do is we can enhance the front, leave everything else, correct, and then it just looks beautiful. It comes together. But that's a lot of editing.
Right.
So if you can plan ahead, get with your photographer, get with your agent, and say, hey, look, this is the best time of day to go shoot this. Trust them. Make sure your clients are on board and go do that. but it's real estate, right?
Right.
Everything needs to be done tomorrow.
Yesterday.
Or yesterday, yeah.
I feel like as a buyer too, when I saw over-edited photos, I was like, what are they hiding?
Yep.
Was my first thought.
And that's very, very easy to do, especially in real estate. We'll go through a bunch of like Realtor.com, Zillow.com, and that's how we get potential clients. It's like, okay, you don't do professional photography, or I can do a lot better than what you already currently use. So we can go in, highlight those things like, hey, like this was heavily edited. That's a negative because you got somebody saying, hey, what are you hiding?
Right. I mean, I love that you do that. I wish that I could do that. I wish that I could, this listing is not being well represented. I wish that I could reach out and say, you've been on the market for 63 days. Like, there's a reason why. And I'd love just to tell you, we could change the dynamics if we could just take professional photos and put this house in the right light that it needs to be in. But I can't. It's a violation of my ethics that I can't reach out to that. It's already listed with somebody. But this is why it's good information for you as the consumer, the public, the people who may be watching this, is that if you aren't getting that communication, if you go to sell a home, what the realtor is going to do for you, like you should have some level of expectations of understanding. And if you look at that marketing and you're like, oh, wow, this doesn't look good, then have that conversation. And I'm not really happy with your photos. I have rehired photographers because of the timeline. I didn't get the one that I wanted. I used somebody else, and then I was not happy with those listing photos. That's a representation on me as much as it is on the house.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hired somebody else, get them out there, and I delayed my listing by a half a day so that I could put better photos up. I mean, that's just what I feel is important to do for the house, because I don't want it to sit on the market for a failure that I might have allowed.
Right.
And so we have to understand that there are some expectations, to the service and everything. If you walked in and you said, there's no way I can do this, can't do justice to this house, the photos are going to be bad no matter, it'll be like, okay, we're having a different conversation.
Yep.
Am I taking this listing or what?
and that happens. There's some times where I go in and I'm like, why are you paying me to come here and take these photos right now? Like, all I'm going to do is highlight the bad parts of the home right now.
Like the beds aren't made and there's 10 tons of trash stuffed in the closet.
And it's not a distress situation. Yeah. I'll give credence when it's a distress situation. Okay, we can't really account for these things here. But when that's not the situation, yeah, you want things to be presented well.
Yeah.
So as far as exterior photos outside, do you use a drone or what other
we'll use
gadgets
drones.
do you use?
We've got 3 different drones that we use depending on what type of packaging they want. 2 of them are kind of experimental, but we're having fun with it. So we'll take the drone, we'll do a continuous shot coming up to the house, fly around the house, and then we'll actually fly in the home.
Oh,
and
cool.
That's been fun, but we've been only doing that with some trustworthy clients.
How many times have you hit the wall with the drone?
None.
Yeah,
these drones, they are crazy. So we've been, I say we, it's me now. I think it's like maybe 2009 was my first drone that I bought. And from that drone comparison to these drones now, it's night and day difference.
Technology, yeah.
And insane. The drone I have now, there is, I think, 15 different sensors on it. So if you get close enough to an object, it won't let you fly anymore.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so they make it, if you wreck a drone today, you did good. You wrecked it pretty good.
You shouldn't be in charge of the drone, right?
Yeah.
That's cool.
So does your company also use, so you'll see on some listings where you like jump from circle to circle and you can like walk through the house?
So that's Matterport. We don't do Matterport. We have another company that we partnered with. It's called Cubicasa, and it does the 2D floor plan and it does 3D renderings, but it doesn't do the dollhouse effect where you can click from one side to the other. When I looked into it like 5 years ago, the camera was $6,500. And then the subscription fee was $150. And in the Dayton market, there was 13 homes that had it. That wouldn't pay for that equipment. So I never got into it. Cubicasa came up, and a lot of clients that were using Matterport come over and just use us because it's cheaper than what the Matterport package was. But no, those are nice. I would like to get into it, but the volume of clients purchasing that package would have to definitely increase.
Well, and that goes back to the realtors allocating funds from their typically, because the realtor is paying up front for these services, which is a thing. They are paying their money out of their pocket before they get any money from the seller in most cases. Now, maybe this is going to change with everything that's going on.
That's what I was going to ask. Like how
Maybe. I mean, that would be nice. Like, have the seller allocate a set amount of money up front that that as a listing agent, you're not coming out of pocket whether or not this house sells, that we're still spending this money for the benefit of this house, right? But currently, a listing agent covers that cost and pays for it. So if it's $300 for photos and a basic video, and now you add the Matterport, then you're adding another $300. I'm just using random numbers.
I think that's about what they cost now.
I mean, that's where you're talking about before you even do anything. An agent is typically out of pocket $500 to $1,000 is my standard. I know I'm out. Now, I intend to sell the house, right? I'm going to do my part. But something could happen and you would just not have any of that back. So again, hopefully with all the changes that are coming on, there is some realization that you're not spending your money for naught, that the seller is going to compensate you for that. But to that point, I know that I've used Matterport. I like it for a lot of reasons, but that usually means I have 1, 2, or 3 different companies that I'm dealing with to come out to do my property marketing for me. It's nice if you can get one and done, but it's tough, as you said, because as a company, you have to make decisions and you want to know that it's cost effective for you. And I'm that particular person where I know what I want and I want to be able to get it. I've had photographers tell me that they wouldn't, like they only do a set number of pictures. Well, that's fine on a normal 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, nothing really fancy. But you start getting into 5-bedroom, 16 rooms, and you're talking about, I need more shots than the 15 you're going to give me. So you start adding to that budget, right? You start adding to the expense of it. But then I want to be really specific and I want to say, I know this is a feature that's going to help sell this house. Like, I want a shot of that. And I've actually paid additional, this has been a number of years back, I've actually paid for those additional shots and then not gotten them because they didn't think that it was help sell the house. It's not up to you to decide because I'm the person who's going in and I know from buyers what they're looking at. And if this is one of those trigger points, I get it. It's a marketing shot for me, but it's important. Yeah. So in that kind of conversation, I know you've been flexible with us, so thank you. But is that normal? I mean, are you going to take that stance and say, no, it's only 15, that's it, no more?
No, we don't have a set limit on it. So we judge everything off of square footage, and we got different price guides per square footage. And the way that I kind of take photos is when I go into a home, I'm looking at it. I'm not just like, oh, stand here, click, go. I kind of want to tell a story, and that's ultimately what you're doing as a media person or photographer or videographer. You have to stick to the story,
right? And
that's what we're taught when we're getting into the media game. Is the story is everything. So if you can't, with your photos, tell a story of the home, then you're not doing your client the best that you can do. So as long as you are getting what they want and ask for it, you guys are paying us,
right?
We're going to give you everything what it is. I might say, hey, this basement, it's not good. I probably wouldn't market with it, but you know what? At the end of the day, it's your choice. You paid for it. It's up to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it really just depends on what it is. I'll never tell somebody this doesn't look that good. I'll give them 2 options. Everything's digital now. Everybody acts like, digital cameras cost every time you take a photo of it. That's the luxury of digital. If you don't like it, delete it, erase it.
It's not like the old days where you had a canister of film and, I ran out of 36 shots. I got to go get another. I don't have any more. I got to go to the store. Forget it. Come on.
Yep.
Yeah.
We were shooting wedding photography before this, and we had a client asked us to shoot with film. They had this whole idea. They kept coming to me, how are the photos? Like, we'll see. I have no idea.
Yeah, you don't know.
I don't have a digital screen to tell you, so we're going to hope that it's really good. Luckily, they turned out good, but wow.
Yeah.
It was a lot of anticipation. Even if you could get it processed in an hour, it's like, man, I hope I got the shot, because what do? Now the day is gone, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So kind of piggybacking off of what you guys were just talking about with the realtor paying, who owns the photos?
So ultimately with us, when you go in contract with us, we own the photos. So when we sell, we'll just use you for an example. You got a listing, you come up, we'll go out and shoot it. We'll give you the photos. I don't have limitations of where you can't market it anywhere. You can market it whatever you want. You just can't resell them. So for instance, say that you had a listing that didn't go through. You had the photos done. You now, new agent, come in. They want to use those photos. They can't. That's copyright infringement. They have to come through me, either pay for the digital or do like a reshoot, basically. And that's pretty much every company that I've worked with, because we get pretty busy. We'll throw out some to other people. Other people will come out and we'll go shoot for them. They're all about the same. So even if I go and shoot photos for another company, they ultimately own it because they're the one doing the transaction, and we have to have a contract agreement.
Right. The board has some rules too, because, not that long ago, a house would be listed by agent A and not sell it, and then agent B comes along and they just used all of the photos from agent A. So the board put in rules where, at least there's a watermark on those pictures. You're not supposed to be able to use it. Obviously, I would battle that and say, hey, wait a minute. And sometimes you wonder, well, it's the front view of the house. How do you determine who took the picture, right? But there are ways to say if that's your photograph versus somebody else's. And so it's nice to know that there's also a stop gate there. Yeah. But it doesn't prevent nefarious people out there getting access to pictures that are on a third-party website and then putting that out on another system and having scams and things like that. So like when you hear about rental scams or somebody trying to sell a house that they don't own, they've grabbed that image and they've used it on one of these websites somewhere else. They are not authorized to do that in any way, and it's a violation of every aspect of what we're talking about. But that's why you want to make sure you know what you're doing.
Yeah. So obviously you go into a lot of homes.
Yeah.
What are some of the coolest things that you've seen?
The coolest things that I've seen?
Yeah.
I did just shoot a $2.5 million listing, and that was my biggest one so far. And their basement had this bar. It was all blacked out, like white walls. The countertops were black. The wood for the cabinetry was a very, very dark black. That was probably the coolest thing I've ever seen in a house. And I mean, it's like a 40-foot bar. It's not like a...
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, yeah, this was... Yeah, I was there for 5.5 hours. And you know how long listing photos take. It's less than an hour, I'm out. I'm like, I got lost and went in the left wing. I thought I was in the right wing. I was like who lives here? That's probably one of the coolest ones. Another one is just, it was this person, I can't remember the name. It's been a couple years ago. They lived in downtown Dayton, and they were an artist. Like they amazing. You walked in, you felt like you were in an art gallery. It wasn't a big home. Like the home itself didn't impress me, but the way that they lived, the way that they had their house set up, I was just blown away. Like, this is just beautiful.
Which makes it tough if you're doing listing photos, because some of that isn't going to convey. Right. Some of that is just that personality. And so the house, when it's bare bones broken out, right? It's like, oh, is that the same place?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like if something is too niche down, then people are going to be like, oh, wait, I want to buy everything in it.
Yeah, I want to buy that.
I want this.
Yeah.
I want to just walk in with my clothes.
Well, you have that sometimes when somebody's relocating. Well, I'll just buy everything. Like, well, they sell the furniture and all the stuff. It's like, I don't know. We have to talk about it. Everything's negotiable in real estate. So.
How often does that happen?
I don't know that it happens often. It will happen once in a great moon, though. I mean, it will happen. And it does, when everything is just perfect and it's not so niche driven, I think that's when it happens. It's like, oh, that's really nice furniture, and a log cabin home. That was one of the things, because the furniture that was there, it's all wood driven and everything like that. So it fits. It's more the style that the furniture fits the house. This person isn't going to take it because they're not moving into a log home where they're going. Right. So then it becomes more of a negotiation in that kind of a scenario too.
Okay. So we've talked on previous episodes about getting your home ready for pictures and video to be taken. What are some things that you would tell a homeowner, like, here's what you need to do before I even step in to be 100% productive when I come in?
So even though earlier I did say that decluttering isn't a must comparison to what it was back in the day, that is still a big thing. Now, you don't have to rip off the family photos off the walls as much as you used to. It does help. And me, if I was to come in and shoot my home, I would take it off because I don't want my children to be in the photos. So that is a kind of a thing. But the big thing is kind of use your own visual. Like, if I want to buy this, what would I want it to be? You want it to be clean. You want it to be, organized. You don't want the kids' toys just piled up in a corner. You want it to be organized, because you don't know what the potential buyer might be OCD.
Right.
They're like, what? This guy can't clean up. What else can't they clean up?
Right.
So it goes back to that negative.
Exactly.
So my direction, I guess you can always say, is like, just make sure that you're taking in consideration of who's going to buy this. Make sure it's clean. Make sure it's almost just, I don't know, maybe just organized.
Right.
How about like that, I guess?
So I had an incident with, and this has been a few years ago, and this house was $1 million house, beautiful, pretty much staged. I mean, even though the family was still living there, I mean, it was like tidy, neat, not really an issue. I didn't think anything about like the photographer going in and taking photos, like I needed to be there to do anything. Sometimes I'm along and just trying to stay out of the way, but I can, okay, let me shuffle this, and then, okay, I can put that back, that kind of thing. I didn't have that inclination or anything like that. But I did go to be at the property, and this photographer went into the master bedroom, into the bathroom, and was taking toothbrushes off of the counter and finding places for the toothbrushes and the the tissue box that was there, and the contact lenses. And I had a moment of panic, because I'm like, first of all, if you don't remember where all of that goes, I have a homeowner who's going to call me. Had I not been here, I wouldn't have known that you did that, and I would have never thought, why would you move where the toothbrush is? Like, the toothbrush is by the sink.
Right.
That's not out of place. That's not clutter. That's just like, why are you touching somebody's toothbrush?
Well, especially after COVID, like, you don't. Like,
well, this was pre-COVID.
People are really weird.
So this was before we knew all that was a problem, right? But it really kind of bothered me, and I thought, oh my gosh, how would I feel if I were the seller and I came in and I wondered, well, why is all my stuff moved, and where is it? Like, I would be looking for it. So I kind of had to have a conversation that I get that you want pictures to be great, but like, that doesn't detract from a picture, in my opinion.
Yeah, not a toothbrush.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we know why evolves of our business is that we find new people to do things, is because, sometimes you just don't see eye to eye with somebody.
Right.
Now, there are things like, we will help clients move things, but, personal items like that, I think where I draw the line is like a towel. I'm not going to pick up your bath towel. Like, I don't know if it's used or brand new. First of all, I don't want to touch you.
Sure.
So,
right. You wouldn't expect to be picking up clothes off of the floor or anything like that.
And I guess I'm kind of direct. If somebody's there, I kind of get bossy. I'm like, hey, this needs to be done. I'll go shoot this. After I'm done, I'm going to go over there. So make sure it's done. And you go over there and it's nice. And they feel like they did something anyway.
Sure.
So you just got to be nice about it. I didn't want to be too stern.
Hey, do this.
So is there any decor items or items in a home that you will not shoot? Like a political sign or a gun or something, that could be controversy.
So gun safes, like some items like that, I'll have a conversation first, especially like if there's guns laying out or something like that. That's happened before. If nobody's there, I'll call the agent, like, hey, like, what do you want me to do with this? We charge $25 to edit photos to remove things. So if they want to pay me $25, I'll take it out, but I'm not going to touch the gun. Like, you got to be smart. But most of my clients, they're pretty smart. So you guys don't put me in situations like that.
Well, and again, I think that goes back to the communication from the realtor, is to set those expectations with the homeowner that this is what we're doing. This is why we need to do this. We want this to be our best impression. So I say, act like you have a dinner party of 12 of your best work associates, because your friends you probably would accept where they've seen my PJs before, not a problem. But let's put it to a higher level. Like, these are people you're trying to impress. Yeah. How's the house going to look? Because if it meets those standards, then we're probably okay. And if it doesn't, then we probably need to have a conversation about what our standards need to be, or what is the better way to present it, because maybe you don't take pictures of all the rooms. Like if somebody had a secret space for whatever reason,
That has happened.
you probably don't want to take a picture of it.
So it was I was in this big Facebook forum, and I believe it was in Pennsylvania, and the basement was 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, I knew it was coming.
I was just like, I knew the photographer, I knew the listing agent, so I was on the phone like, oh my God, like you put that on there? They're like, yeah, because look at how many views it got. I think the short clip that they had, it was over 2 million views, so many different reactions, and they were like, look, we told the clients they didn't want to take it up, like, hey, this is us, this is how we live, and they shot it, and they were like, well, let's use this to our advantage then. And that was the description, like, if you're into kinky things,
This is the house
this
for
is
you.
the house.
Wow.
And it just went viral. So I
Yeah.
mean, maybe
Is that like the Zillow gone wild?
Yeah, yeah,
things?
yeah.
Yeah.
So it does depend on personality and needs of the client. I've had single women who don't want the house to appear that it's a single woman that lives there. I mean, you have to realize how this plays out. And so interesting, never mind, I might be exposing some information. Well, and here's the thing is that it's an internet. We live in a cyber world, and once information's out there, it's out there, right? So I've gotten the calls where people are like, hey, I want my photos taken down. I'm like, what photos are you talking about? Like, I don't know who you are. And it's a buyer. Well, I represented the seller, and the photos are up on a website, and, well, I don't have any control of taking those down. Like, once it's out there, it's kind of out there. And, you don't take a YouTube video down because the listing sold. You still have it in your repertoire. It's part of your history. It's part of whatever, unless there's a reason, right? Unless you have that ability to do it. But that has also come under scrutiny. And so there may be some things that publicly, those pictures that are taken that are copyright protected, in history preservation will still maintain through our association, but may not be visible through those third-party sites that we have control over, or whatever an agreement with, right? We don't have control over their sites, but we may have this agreement. But that still doesn't control the narrative if somebody's taken it and put it on their Facebook and put it out there, and now they're in the Springboro group chat where, everybody in Springboro knows this is part of the house because, well, I want it taken down. Well, I don't have any control over that. So
Right.
there's a lot that goes on now when you start thinking about the wonderful world of the web.
Well, I remember when I listed my house, one of the big trends was like you put a baby picture and then their name and then their date of birth and then a clock, and you set the clock to like the time that they were born. And then after we took pictures, I was like, oh crap, my kid's date of birth is like right there on
Right
this
there.
picture. We need to blur that out, and luckily we were able to. But it wasn't even something that I even thought about. Like,
Right.
That was just my cute decor.
And that's that personal information that may not otherwise be available, that you just put it right out there for everybody to see, and realization is hey, maybe I don't want that. And so you do what you can to take those down or blur them or whatever at that point.
Yeah, so you guys may know better than me, but I feel like it's like Realtor.com or one of those websites previously, and I don't think you can do it anymore, but you used to be able to look at all of the different pictures when a house was listed. And I liked that as a buyer because you could see like, oh, it was updated the previous seller, or this wasn't updated until like 3 sellers ago. Or,
So that is the current conversation that's happening, and where, maybe speaking a little out of turn, but the conversation is that they're wanting to eliminate that ability to do that. And I bring up, as an appraiser, well, the appraiser should be a member of the MLS, so they should still be able to have the historical records, but it's preventing consumers and the forefront of being able to see that kind of history. So I would encourage you that if that is your thought and you saw potential in that you might want to send an email to an agent that you know. Because it is valid information. I think there were part of us who said, the history of seeing that the revelation of how the house transformed, it does speak to the value add. Like it was here and now it's here, and now this next person is going to take it to that level. And if you as the consumer don't have that ability, then is that a negative impact to you and what you want to be able to be aware of? I, as your agent, may be able to see historically. I wouldn't be able to send that information to you.
Yeah, maybe
Okay.
if it goes through the MLS, you guys can hang on to that. But I think Realtor.com, we went to go look at a house that we just shot, but it closed and it was taken down. It was like not active. You couldn't see the photos. So I think that is coming more and more that you don't get access to that.
Yeah.
Well, I know on Zillow that you can own it, and then you have the owner's profile, and you can take those pictures down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So people are thinking about what they want information-wise out there. I think that was one of the first things that I heard about Matterport. This is going way back because Matterport's been around for,
Quite some time now,
yeah, at least 10 years, I
Yeah.
think. That there was a place in the country where there were bad things happening, and they were using the floor plan and the layout to know exactly where to go and what to do in a home. And it really gave concern. Is like, oh, wow, if somebody's doing that, I don't want to be the person who's giving them all the information that they need. Well,
Yeah, no kidding.
so beware. I'm not telling you where the alarm system is or how this house is being protected. So you might want to keep that in mind.
I did read something. This was a year or two ago. This jaw dropped. People can now, if there's a key inside of a photo, they can judge how big the key is and they can 3D print that key.
What?
Yes. So that's something that, I mean, most people probably don't know, but yeah, if I see keys, I just kind of hide it or I'll edit it out while I'm, taking photos. But
Oh my gosh.
it's like,
Yeah.
no way that's a thing. But yeah, if you have a keychain on something and they can get like, oh, that's, say there's a quarter right next to it or something like that, they can judge the size of the key, take the whole printout. They know the address because they got it from the Realtor.com or Zillow.
Wow.
I was like, first of all, that's genius. Like that you can even.
Like, you got skills. Why don't you go work for the government and do
somebody's gonna
something
pay
good,
for it.
right?
Right.
Yeah, I read that article and I was like, yeah, we're advising people not to. I was like, holy crap. Like, I would have never thought of something like that.
Yeah.
Like, get out of here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we're all sitting here awestruck now.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Same feeling when I read it. I was like, my wife's like, what are you doing? I was like, breathe this. She was like, oh, that's creepy. I was like, yeah.
Okay, so we're not giving you ideas on what to do. Like,
No, we're preventing it.
we're trying to prevent it.
Yes.
Exactly.
Sorry.
I feel like criminals are some of the masterminds.
Oh, criminals aren't listening to this, are they? I mean, really? Like, what do they want to listen to us for?
Right.
Never know, I guess.
All right. Well, on that, thank you for coming and
Yeah, thanks
sharing
for
all of
having
your
me.
expertise.
Yeah.
So today's tip, don't leave your keys out to be
Yeah, that's a good
photographed. That's the tip.
Yeah.
I was a little nervous. I don't know how I did. So hopefully, usually I'm on the other side of the camera.
That's right. It's
Yeah.
all new for you, huh?
Like, oh man, like this is how people feel.
Well, thanks for being here. We
And
appreciate
if
it.
you want to reach out to Michael, what is your email address or website?
You can go to our website, mbmprophoto LLC.com. All the socials are linked to that, so you can find me pretty easily.
We're going to put your information below.
Perfect. Thanks
Thanks.
for having me.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining us today on the Realty Podcast. If you enjoyed the knowledge and entertainment today, please subscribe and share with your friends. We will be embarking on a journey that bridges the gap between realtors and clients, uncovering the heart and tea of real estate.